month of Breaking Bad, episode 3, season 3, episode 10 about the dopey fly in the meth room. And somebody texted me today and said that production costs were running high, so they did that show in one location to save money. And it's long regarded as the worst show in the series of Breaking Bad, the 5 years. It's called a bottle show. So they did it all in one site, which was a fly in the, who was going to contaminate the meth. And they tried to knock off the fly. And it was a brutal fall asleep, get it off the television episode. And I guess that was the reason. That's the excuse. The Breaking Bad people are very cliquish. They think that's their show and nothing touches it, and this is our show, and they have an explanation for everything with the Breaking Bad groupies out there, led by Eddie Erickson, who is a Breaking Bad groupie. Here's Adam in New Jersey, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Adam, good afternoon. How are you today, pal? What's going on?
Doggy, what's up?
Hello, Adam. Nice to talk to you. What's on your mind today?
All right, my first point, agree with you on the Breaking Bad. That is the most comatose episode. Horrible. Can't stand it. Get it off the shit.
That's a terrible show. I fell asleep on it last night. That's one. Two. Go ahead.
Listen, I want to talk a little bit about Belichick, and if we can get to Tony Clark, I'd love to get to Tony Clark, too. First of all, I saw the 30 for 30. I thought that was a great 30 for 30. But one thing I didn't like is Belichick really didn't acknowledge what he really truly does owe Parcells. And here's the reason why, Doggy. Belichick knew that Parcells was going to eventually leave, and he was going to be named the coach.
Of the Jets now. Of the Jets.
Leon Hess gave him $1 million.
Yeah, I know.
Doggy.
Yes, he did.
$1 million. That's a lot of money. And two, when he went up to New England, and the 30-30 said this, Parcells' guys, McGinnis, Lawyer Malloy,
they were the foundation of Belichick's teams. You're right, the first couple teams.
And also, what doesn't go mentioned recently about
Belichick acknowledged that. It was not like he didn't acknowledge it. He knew that Bill left him a good ball club up there with good young players. Go ahead.
All right, and the other point too, your other caller talked about the Falcons and the Pete Carroll play. But another thing that somehow the Patriots, they're like Teflon. Nothing ever sticks. They taped the Rams practice that first Super Bowl. They knew everything that was going to happen. This legacy starts with cheating. It doesn't, and I know that's coming from a Jet fan, but this did not start on its own merit. And that is the part about Belichick that I think taints any of the genius that he brought to the table.
And obviously Spygate is not part of the conversation here because obviously it's Bill and Bill. You can argue the importance of Spygate until the cows come home and, the fact that it meant nothing and the Patriot fan will always be defensive about that. Well, the two things I would say about Spygate, to be fair, if it did not serve a purpose, why did the Patriots do it? Okay, if it didn't help them, why'd they do it? Let the cameraman get some practice? Why'd they do it? And the second thing is, with Spygate, if it didn't mean anything at all, why did Goodell erase the tapes? Nobody saw it. If it was worthless and pointless and nobody could care, why didn't you show it to us? Yeah, to tell you how nonsensical this is, take a look at this. This is nothing. Why didn't they show it to us? Goodell erased the tapes. I've never heard an explanation about why he did either. You can't ask Goodell those kind of questions. Here's Paul in New York. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Paul, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
All right, Paulie, nice to have you with us. What's going on now? Let me hear.
Hey, if I could change the subject a little bit, I want to thank you for the interview you did with Jerry Kramer last week. I followed him. I missed his career, but started reading his books and became a huge fan after the fact. And I just wanted to make a couple of quick points.
I'm glad he made the Hall of Fame. I'm very happy he made it. I'm good for him.
Me too. And I want to make a couple of quick points. You kept mentioning he was the guard of the decade. He was actually voted the greatest guard in the first half century of football, not just a decade. The one guard who made it for the first half a century. Second point on him is, if you really think about it, the Packer sweep was the most important play in the Packer dynasty.
Yeah, the power sweep. Good point. Yes, good point.
Yeah, and he's the pulling guard. The most important component of that play is the pulling guard, especially the right guard. So you can say he was the most important component of the most important play during the Packer sweep. Then
the famous, you know what John Madden told us about 8 years ago? He went to a coach. He went to the
on the power sweep.
Yeah, you remember. He went to a coaching clinic in the early 60s that Lombardi ran for high school coaches, and he spent 8 hours, including breakfast, lunch, lunch break, and then again on one play, how you run the power sweep. Think about that for a minute. Go ahead.
Third point. He played key roles in 3 championship games. In '62, he kicked 3 field goals. In '65, he threw a key block on the sweep that Horning went in for the go-ahead touchdown.
In the rain.
And obviously, 67.
Right.
So, 3 times he was a huge component in the championship game. But the last point, which I think is really interesting, he starts writing instant replay in '67 as they go for their 3rd championship game. What are the odds that he becomes the hero of his own book? A right guard becomes the hero, throwing the greatest block in the history of the NFL. And, when he started writing the book, he couldn't have known that. What were the odds that he was going to be the hero of his own book?
Yeah, well, remember, he may have moved early, as we have seen over the next, the last years or so, that he, fraction of a second, he moved early, which is true. He did, and he knows it. But that's fair. You get the idea that instant replay turned people off because he made a lot of money on that, and none of them made money in those days. Mark in California, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Mark, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have?
I'm doing really good, Chris. The caller before took all my Jerry Kramer stuff. He's pretty knowledgeable about that. A couple of things. Listening to Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, Al Michaels mentioned something about scoliosis. So he may be on some heavy drugs or something. Maybe
they would. I didn't hear him say that. They wouldn't let him do the game if that was the case, though.
Okay, just make sure.
If Al was, basically telling me he was medicated, I don't think. I think NBC would know that and might take him off. I was just very, very surprised. He was very ho-hum the whole broadcast. It didn't feel like, from his perspective, and this is an all-time great now, and I love him, but it did not feel like a Super Bowl with Al on Sunday afternoon. That's just the way it is. I mean, I know he doesn't want to hear it, but that's fact. Not to me, at least, as a fan. Go ahead. Next. Yeah.
And then Collinsworth, I tell you, he does step on Al a lot, but I have seen Collinsworth take the telestrator, and during the Super Bowl, he was going to design this play that the Eagles were going to run, where they pulled the guard and ran a trap block, and then they run it. The guard that was pulled does a ram block, and they trap the defensive end with the fullback. I've seen Collinsworth diagram a couple of things. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about sometimes.
I can't. I mean, I don't know. He does. He loves the diagram. Collinsworth's issue to me, if I have one with him, he does talk an awful lot. Let the game. I don't need every play. Whether his diagrams are wrong or right, I couldn't tell you that. But he does. I think we would know if they were wrong. Somebody would have said something 10 years ago. He's been doing this a long time. Sometimes he doesn't let the game breathe. That would be my take. Doesn't let the game breathe. Now, I don't want to kill Collinsworth or anybody else for that matter on the touchdowns, because it's very hard for a broadcaster to sit there and say whether a touchdown or not. The one thing that they both did not say on Sunday is, remember, they were called touchdowns on the field. And they didn't tell you that. So to overturn it, you needed substantial evidence. They were not called incompletes. They were called touchdowns. 10 in front of the hour here on Mad Dog Unleashed.
Power Alley. Jason Hamill.